Good morning, Dog Nation. We are live in New Orleans here for Super Bowl. It feels like the Super Bowl to me. It's really my Super Bowl. Sugar Bowl Media Day. As about 15 minutes from right now, the Georgia Bulldogs, essentially the entire roster, the entire lineup of coaches, will all be in this big ballroom where we are right now. And today, rare instance for us, we'll get our chance to walk around and talk to each of them. It's going to, or as many as we can during our allotted time. It is going to be an incredible day. We're happy to have you with us for it. It'll be completely wild, of course, chaotic. We'll be moving about, all kinds of cameras doing the same thing. So it'll be a certainly wild scene, but it's also going to be a ton of fun here today, too. So settle in, obviously getting ready to look ahead to Thursday, the big game coming up against Ole Miss. These are the official final moments of preparation before that big game takes place and somebody advances to the college football playoff semifinal. We're going to talk all about it and hear from some of the official coaches and players who will be major factors in determining who wins this football game. It is all on the way as DawgNation Daily, the daily podcast for Georgia Bulldogs fans, presented today by ServPro, begins right now.
Today's episode of DawgNation Daily is brought to you by ServPro, cleaning, restoration, construction.
Presented by DawgNation.com, this is DawgNation Daily, the daily podcast for Georgia Bulldogs fans. Here's your host, Brandon Adams.
And you see, that's what it's all about. The Sugar Bowl trophy. For those of you watching on video, and I got to tell you, it's one of my favorite bowl trophies. As you see the Louisiana Superdome forming the base, coming up towards the big cup with the football on top. Both the helmets, the Georgia Bulldogs, the Ole Miss Rebels. Rare SEC versus SEC matchup in this year's Sugar Bowl. And we're here today to talk about it, one of the special days on our calendar. This is Sugar Bowl Media Day. Glad to have you with us on DawgNation Daily, the daily podcast for Georgia Bulldogs fans, presented today by ServPro. So if you're on podcast, it's going to feel a little different than normal. Video, you should be able to really tell what this is all going to be like. Completely chaotic scene, but I mean that in the most fun way possible. This is a gigantic ballroom here in a hotel downtown New Orleans. The Ole Miss Rebels have had their turn at Media Day a moment ago. They have spoken to their reporters. They've moved out, so we are in here, and really within like the next 10 minutes, the Georgia team will come in. There will be a podium set up in the front. We'll walk around and show this to you here in a little bit. A podium set up at the front. Kirby Smart will be speaking today for literally 45 minutes. We'll have the entirety of that on our DawgNation video channels at some point. Also, off to my left over here, some of the Georgia players, you think of these as your key leaders. Gunner Stockton, the far left, Raylen Wilson, Daylen, Everette, C.J. Allen, K.J. Bolden, Zachariah Branch. Leaving somebody out, but these guys will have a podium, and that'll give some of the reporters who maybe haven't spoken to them quite as much a little chance to get better access to them. But for those of us who are deeply entrenched in DawgNation, the fun stuff happens on the far side of the room. Those are just regular banquet tables, and all of the various position groups will be positioned and stationed there. And that's where last year we got great stuff from Christen Miller, from Nate Frazier, from some of the guys that we don't hear from all that frequently. Georgia assistant coaches, we don't get a chance to talk to them on the record very much, but today there'll be some of that. And so in a moment, you'll be a fly on the wall with me, and I've got Cody Chavins with me here today as well, and we'll just be going through the room and seeing what we can get. In fact, special treat for you this year, Cody's actually mic'd up. He's able to talk to us too. For those on video, Cody, a moment ago, we also showed the great pageantry of the team arrival and the second line band that traditionally greets when you get to Louis Armstrong Airport there in New Orleans. It's the kind of thing that kicks off a bowl week that makes this obviously feel different than just certainly a regular old game. You were there. You shot the video. You've now done this a lot. Describe for those who haven't seen the video yet or maybe have never experienced this in person what that pageantry was like yesterday.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of fun. The Sugar Bowl here, that's one of their classic things is to have the folks, the band waiting on the players as they get off. They also all got beads. For these Georgia players, they all did it a year ago. They know exactly what it's all about. Georgia travels on 2 different planes now to get here as they fly out of Athens. So it was interesting to watch who was on plane 1, who was on plane 2. We had the breaking news yesterday of Gabe Harris coming out in crutches and a boot. And then, of course, we realized once the availability report came out that he is out for this game. So it had a little news, but also a little pageantry and a little fun.
So just off to the right here where the Sugar Bowl trophy is set up, there's an entranceway to our ballroom, and in a moment, that's where Georgia's going to come through, and we'll give you it'll almost be like an impromptu dog walk. We'll see the team walking in for Media Day. We'll show that to you in a couple of minutes. Also, though, as Cody mentioned, there is some news we need to get to. Availability report comes out for Georgia yesterday, the first of a series of these, but this is going to probably prove to be the most notable. It featured some good news and some not quite so good news, and I guess most of this ends up being, well, yeah, that's about what we'd have expected. On the good news, that's going to be on the offensive side of the ball, where wide receiver Colbie Young was listed as probable. That's a status that could change as you go through the week. But I think this pairs with, speaking of nice video, the video that we had of Young on Saturday, where he was running, he was cutting, he was doing cone-style drills, short shuttle type stuff, where he was showing some lateral quickness, seemed to be okay, managing some torque on that leg. That all seemed to be fine for Colbie Young. Now, I also think that particular look at a short window of practice can be a false positive. For instance, even if he's probable to play, we still don't know how much he will play, how much of a factor he can be in this game. But to have the Monday availability report come out and have him listed as probable, I think you take that as good news. I think the same thing is true for tight end Ethan Barbour. Now, Georgia's very deep at the tight end position. We've seen Georgia's tight ends have another very good year, but Barbour has also been creative in how he was used. This was a guy who essentially started the first game for Georgia this year, doing some stuff at fullback. So clearly Barbour was a guy that was in Georgia's plans offensively. The early injury prevents a lot of that from happening. If he can play, it's another weapon for Mike Bobo to have in his arsenal. And as we talked about on our post-practice video on Saturday, it also becomes another thing for Pete Golding and this Ole Miss defense to have to think about. I think that Barbour's status of being as probable right now, I think that's good and positive news for Georgia. On the flip side of that, defensively, well, we were obviously trending towards Gabe Harris not playing in this game, and he was officially listed as out. And I think I've mentioned this on DawgNation Daily over the course of the last, couple of weeks, that as we've talked to former players, Davin Bellamy's weighed on this, John Stinchcomb's weighed in on this, Terrence Edwards has weighed in on this. We've heard from several former Georgia players, and when you ask them about turf toe as a football player, you can just see the horror almost come over their face, and they just recoil at that subject because a lot of players know that when you deal with it, it's one of those things that can really linger. And so there are varying degrees of severity, but it is something that can just prevent you from getting a strong base. And obviously in this case, it certainly seems like it's going to prevent Gabe Harris from being able to play on Thursday. Janelle Aguero also notably listed as out. You'll remember he did not play in the SEC Championship. Rashawn Deacon stepped in and had a good performance in his absence. So that's the story. That's the story there. Looks like Georgia's getting ready to make their way in. We'll see if we can get a little bit of a look at their arrival. And as we're doing a little walk-in talk here, I'll also give you some other news away from the Sugar Bowl for a moment. Certainly a lot of fans reacting to the recruiting news yesterday as you see Mike Bobo coming through right there. This is the Georgia team walking this hallway. They'll enter the ballroom here. They've got their sweatshirts on. I'm not seeing jersey numbers on those sweatshirts, so this will be an interesting thing. There's Oscar Delp coming by. You see Drew Bobo with the scooter. So Georgia with sweat clothes on today, minus jersey numbers. Cody Chafins, I want to get you to help me with some facial.
Rolling by.
Yeah, so I just saw Gabe Harris come by there too. So we'll get a chance to hear from a lot of these Georgia players here coming up in just a moment. There's Jordan Hall, obviously officially listed as out, but he's been out now for a while. So Georgia coming in, they'll take their spots here in a moment, and we'll get our chance to speak to them here in a little bit. And as they're walking through, I'll finish the point I was making. See C.J. Allen coming by. Trey Scott, the Georgia defensive line coach. I'll finish the point that I was making, which on the recruiting side of things yesterday, there was obviously a big reaction to DJ Jacobs, the son of David Jacobs, the former Georgia defensive lineman. DJ yesterday committing to Ohio State. That was a little bit of a surprise. I think by the time he was making his announcement, most folks thought it might be Miami. Ends up being Ohio State, so a little bit of a last-minute swerve. But I think the thing that a lot of Georgia fans are talking about is the fact that in the late stage of this process, Georgia was not a huge factor in the recruitment for Jacobs. It certainly seemed like this was an NIL-related recruitment, as so many of these are, and whatever offer that Georgia had on the table, we obviously assume it was a substantial one, but perhaps not in the same ballpark of what Miami, Ohio State, teams like that had. And so essentially, Georgia was not even one of the top finalists for Jacobs, even though he is a UGA legacy, not even one of the top finalists there. So a lot of Georgia fans have had a strong reaction to that. I will be candid, because we're at the Sugar Bowl and because Georgia's playing the College Football Playoff, see Glenn Schumann coming by, I'm probably a little less energized by this topic than I otherwise would be, but it's clearly something that will be addressed in the upcoming days as an in-state legacy, a guy that we thought really strong ties to the Georgia program. You see Juan Gaston coming through. Really strong ties to the Georgia program. Ultimately, though, going to go play his college ball at Ohio State. So that was big news yesterday. That's something we're obviously going to monitor. So we're live here. We're live here at the ballroom downtown New Orleans, where the Georgia Media Day is going to get ready to begin. And by the way, as we get ready to transition, you're going to see Kirby Smart over here getting some photos and some things like that. I'll also remind you that if you want more on the DJ Jacobs story, we'll have a special edition of Before the Hedges presented by Kroger tonight. Here live from New Orleans, that they'll react to the Jacobs news and everything else. That'll be Kaylee Manziel, Jeff Sintel. That's coming up later on tonight. You're getting a look at Kirby Smart over there. He's getting mic'd up for what's going to be an interview for him. He'll eventually take a place at a podium. And then the clock has started, so we can get ready to begin here. As we're walking to go speak to our first Georgia player, we'll remind you that today's show brought to you by our friends at ServPro. Now, we got a mess in here today talking to a lot of Georgia players, but if you want to get a big mess cleaned up around your home, our friends at ServPro want to do that. Restoration specialists, fire damage, water intrusion, everything like that. They're going to be able to get you cleaned up, looking like it never even happened. That's what our friends at ServPro are all about. Find them online at servpro.com. Let's see if we can slide over here and talk to Christen Miller for a second. Christen, you got time for us for a second? So Christen Miller here, Georgia defensive lineman. You're live on DawgNation, by the way. Now, last year we had a great time talking to you, and I think the energy that you showed, I think, obviously is carried into this 2025 season. So here you are back in the Sugar Bowl again, SEC champions once again. You've had a phenomenal year. Christen, how has it felt to see your team where it is here right now?
It feels good just knowing that we went into the offseason prepared just for this season, just knowing it was a lot of things we had to clean up. We wanted to stop the run. We wanted to run the ball, and I feel like we've been doing that at a very high level. We just got to keep on proving that.
On that particular point, I thought it was really interesting how specific Kirby was before the year began. Just like you just said it. We want to run the ball better. We want to stop the run. Well, look at your side of the ball. Statistically, tremendous change where you're essentially among the best in the country at doing that this year. Probably, let's say, outside the top 30 at least a year ago. So dramatic statistical change. What has allowed you guys to improve in that area as much as you have?
For me, taking that burden of responsibility, knowing that I'm the head of the defense, but a lot of the young guys, they just want to come in and buy into that. So I know, going into the offseason, off-season training, we just knew like last year wasn't our standard. That wasn't Georgia football, and that's not Georgia defense. So we want to get to that high standard of playing good defense, and I feel like we've been doing that as a year going on. We want to keep on proving that.
When we talked to you last year, you obviously knew you'd be stepping into that big leadership role this year. Has that been a fun thing for you? You've got a great personality. Obviously, people are drawn to you, but has it been fun being in that leadership role this year?
I think the best thing is it's just been fun being in this D-line room, being in this defense. Like, it's a lot of young guys, but a lot of the young guys, they want to learn. They came in willing to learn, just wanted to get better. A lot of transfers, but, like, it's been fun because I've been working with guys who love football, so it's always fun working with guys who love football.
And we'll finish with this. It certainly seems like, just from the other players we've talked to and what we've heard from some of the Georgia coaches, you guys feel really locked in right now. It sounds like, obviously on a mission here, back in the Sugar Bowl. Sounds like y'all are gearing up for what you hope is a long playoff run, right?
Man, we locked in, and I feel like everything that we want is in front of us, and everything's already written. Thanks to God.
Well, congratulations on a great season thus far, and DawgNation's rooting for you on Thursday.
Yes, sir. Good to see your face, man.
Yeah, you too,
yes,
as
sir.
well. Good stuff there from Christen Miller, the Georgia defensive lineman. Always love catching up with him. Got a lot going on here. Let's see. Yeah, let's see if we can get ready to talk to somebody. Oscar, you got time for us on DawgNation for a couple seconds? Georgia tight end Oscar Delp. Obviously, Oscar, to see what your offense has been able to do this year has been remarkable. So much improvement running the football. Obviously, Gunnar Stockton settled in, have a great season. You've been a big part of that too. How much fun has that been for you as someone who's been around, who has seen a lot, to see the way in which, to my eyes, it looks like your unit has just gelled so much this year?
Yeah, it's been awesome. Just the way we approach practice every day, it almost feels like deja vu to my freshman year when, we made a good run. So just have guys that are bought into this team and really care about everything. And, the seniors have done a great job, and the older guys just leading on these young cats. And, they've done a great job just picking everything up. So just to see everyone that cares about this place so much like I do, and, all these other seniors, it's been great to kind of see everything kind of fall into place, and we're excited.
So you mentioned being a senior. Does it go by as fast for you as it feels like it does for some of us? I mean, I can remember interviewing you when you were a recruit and you're getting ready to go to Georgia and you're talking about, wanting to follow in your Brock Bowers' footsteps or whatever else. And here we are now. You're the veteran presence in the room and you're getting one more shot at this college football playoff. How fast does all of this go by?
It's crazy. I remember the Peach Bowl media day like it was yesterday. So these 4 years have been nothing but special. I think that's why it went by so fast. You're here with the right people and in the right place. It's time flies, so it's been awesome.
I'm remembering last year as well when we were talking to you and you were telling us about Gunnar Stockton, because for the most part, while we knew who he was, we hadn't seen a lot of him yet. He was getting ready to make his first start. And your perspective was, listen, I've lived with this guy, and I can tell you this. You obviously had a lot of confidence in him before he made his first start. Well, here we are now, full season worth of starting. Gunner's had an outstanding year. What's it been like for you to see him live into the expectations that I think you expressed having for him last season?
Yeah, it's been awesome. We all go home to our house every night. There's about 5 of us on the team that all live together. And we go home, we just kind of talk about practice every day, talk about the games, and just for him to do what he's doing and for us to be able to see it and the whole world to see it, it's so special. And, we always knew he had it in him and we always knew what he could do. But for him to be doing it on the stages like this, it's special, and we're excited.
I'll finish with this. We mentioned a moment ago, at one point you were the young tight end getting ready to make your, way into the Georgia program. Now you're the veteran, but it's a group that's just as deep now as it was when you were a part of that young depth a little earlier. Tell me about what you think the tight end room looks like for the future. We've seen guys like Elyiss and prior to his injury, Ethan Barbour in the field. Maybe we'll get a chance to see him again on Thursday. But whether it be Colton or the entire collection there, tell me about those young tight ends that are waiting in the wings.
Yeah, we got the best tight end room in the country, and it's simple as that. I think you come to Georgia in 25 years, and I think they'd still have the best tight end room in the country. Coach Hartley does a great job of recruiting and developing these guys and getting them ready to play. And, we've got so many special young guys in this room and on this offense and on this defense that could step up and play whenever, and, they're ready for it. My freshman year, Darnell went down, and I had to go step up in the Peach Bowl and play as a freshman. And I think we got a lot of guys on our team that are ready for a role like that if something were like that to happen. And I don't think there are a lot of guys around the country that take it that serious and kind of can easily get caught up in the bowl games. And, we're here, we're doing that. And I think we got a lot of young guys that are really locked in, are excited for, this run that we're trying to make right now, and that they're ready to step up if they're needed.
Well, it's been a pleasure to watch your career, and we hope it's 3 more games. So we get a chance to see it over the course of the next couple weeks. Thanks
yes,
so
sir.
much.
Thank y'all.
Great stuff there from Oscar Delp, Georgia tight end. Yeah, let's go get a chance to go talk to him here for a moment. We'll stay in the tight end theme here. Get a chance to talk to Elyiss Williams. Elyiss, you got time for us here on DawgNation? You are live right now. Now, this is going to be a difficult frame here because, listen, I'm 6'2". To give you an idea of how tall Elyiss Williams is, towering over me here right now. Elyiss, congratulations on a great freshman season. You've obviously come in and seemed to pick things up really quickly. What has it been like from your perspective to find a way to fit in this offense and be a guy they trust out on the field as much as you've been?
Just coming out there every day, doing my job, and just executing, and mainly just focusing on my job and what I have to do.
We got a chance to hear from Oscar a moment ago about Todd Hartley. Specifically for you, how has Coach Hartley helped you just be comfortable and the relationship you formed with him even before you got to Georgia?
I say even before I got there, I mean, he always showed love, and when I did get there, he taught me all the technique and the basics of the footwork and playing with a base and pad level. That really helped me.
And then for those of us who saw you during your high school career, obviously, as you got into your junior, senior year, we saw you making big plays offensively. But I can go back to when you were a freshman and, you're playing in a wing T offense and you're blowing people up in, blocks and things like that. I think a lot of people maybe didn't realize, even though you got the big frame and you're obviously a dynamic pass catcher, that you're also a guy during your high school career that really came up with an appreciation for the physicality of the game too, right?
Oh, yes, sir. I was in wing T at Camden. Coach Herron, the legendary coach in South Georgia. So I feel like me being in the wing T really will help me emphasize blocking and that really helped my blocking at next level. I'll say.
Well, we wish you the best of luck in the Sugar Bowl. It's great to talk to you today.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good stuff there from Elyiss Williams. Love to be able to see him. Got Eljiah Griffin right over here. Let's see. Elyiss, you got time for us in DawgNation for a moment? Hey, it's great to talk to you. Really been impressed with your freshman season, Eljiah Griffin, Georgia defensive lineman. And obviously you made a lot of folks happy when you made that decision to stay in state, to come to Georgia. Obviously a national recruit. You had people pulling from you in all different directions. What was it like for you, though, to say, hey, I want to represent my home state. I want to go from Savannah to Athens and be a part of that program. What was that like for you to make that decision?
It was a very great decision for me. Honestly, I don't regret it. I'm glad that I made the decision that I did, especially coming early. There's a lot of things that I had to learn and to find out about myself as a person. But honestly, I came here to, get developed, and, I feel like this was the right way to do it.
You used the word develop. We've heard that a lot from Kirby Smart and Glenn Schumann over the course of the last couple of days. Getting better, improving, development. That's a phrase that gets used a lot. Two things on that. First of all, as a freshman, how have you seen yourself grow from where you would have been during fall camp, let's say call it, August, to where you are now? Tell me the story of how you feel like you've developed personally.
Honestly, it's just a day-by-day process. During fall camp, obviously you grind and you bang and stuff like that. But for me, it was just more of just learning the playbook and wanting to learn. And, because once you feel like you know everything, you should still feel like there's still more to learn, So that's what. And
then when you see the defense overall, the way that you guys have played lately, you shut out Alabama for 3 quarters. Georgia Tech's a high-powered offense. You kept them without a touchdown that day. To me, and to a lot of our audience, it's been a remarkable turnaround for the defense overall. Coach Schumann talked about that a little bit on Saturday. From your perspective, what's it been like watching the way, at least to most of us, it seems like the defense had this tremendous evolution from September all the way to now?
Absolutely. Coach Schumann, all the defensive staff do a great job of preparing us during the week. And, we just go out there and do our best on game days and, do what we're coached to do, honestly.
So I'll finish with this. When you think back to a couple of years ago, it's the Jordan Davises, the Devontae Wyatts, obviously Jalen Carter. A lot of people, Eljiah Griffin's going to be the next in that line of these great defensive linemen. How much have you really thought about some of those guys that were here before you were here? You were actually pretty young when they were still playing at Georgia. How much have you patterned your game around them, or even how aware are you of the tradition that Georgia's had recently with some of these great first-round pick defensive linemen?
Yeah, I know. The standard here before I came, obviously it's, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, all those guys, Trayvon Walker. The standard is held up to a pretty high, standard, obviously. So, but at the end of the day, I just want to be the best me that I can be. I don't want to compare myself to guys and Jalen Carter. They made their pass, and I just want to make my own.
Listen, it seems like you're well on your way to doing that. Impressive freshman season thus far. Can't wait to see more from you in the future.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Great stuff there, Eljiah Griffin. What an awesome interview that was. Getting a chance to hear from him. We got Georgia linebackers over here. Let's see if we can make our way through and see who we might want to talk about. How about Q Johnson right here? Is this Q, you got time for us just for a second? We're live on DawgNation. Quintavious Johnson. We were just talking to Eljiah Griffin a moment ago about the way this defense has improved. I think that you stand as a really interesting avatar on that because you certainly, to my eyes and to a lot of our fans' eyes, have gotten so comfortable at that outside linebacker position as this season has gone along. What's that journey been like for you?
Just trusting the guys around me, knowing that all I have to do on the field is just do my job and everything will go well.
And obviously for you and Jonas, somebody got to play defensive end, the outside linebacker spot. That's an additional challenge this Thursday, we believe, because what looks like Gabe Harris's absence. What does that mean for the outside edge of this Georgia defense, knowing a guy like number 0 who's been so effective this year, looks like he might not be able to play, the additional responsibility that gives you guys over there because of that?
Yeah, really just having that guy in our presence, like we knowing that we're going to have the guys to step up for him if he down or up, but just having that guy in our presence, knowing that he's our brother keeper.
And obviously this is a matchup for you against Ole Miss, a team that you saw earlier this year. 2 things on that. Thing number 1, what is it like when you're watching film for this week saying, oh, yeah, we did this back in October? Some was successful, some of it maybe not what you wanted, but it's the same team that you saw earlier this year. Does that give you any additional level of comfort? And obviously if it does, it gives maybe the other side, Ole Miss, some comfort too. But what is it like playing a team for the second time?
Just knowing what you got to do, going out, execute better than you did the first time when you played those guys.
Well, and I'll finish with this. When you think about better execution, obviously in the fourth quarter there, your team shuts them out 17-0. A lot of people will say, hey, that's the moment when maybe a light came on for the Georgia defense, that things turned around. How true is that from your perspective? Because it certainly seems like the Georgia defense and the improvement you guys showed can be traced back to that do-or-die moment against Ole Miss where if y'all give up any points, maybe that's not a win. Do you feel that way as much as some fans do, that fourth quarter against Ole Miss was a spark that has perhaps propelled you all to where you are right now?
I wouldn't say that it was a spark, but I just knowing that me and my guys coming in every week, getting better day by day, and knowing that we have more experience and more knowledge going into this next game playing those guys.
Well, it's been fun watching to this point. Best of luck the rest of the way, including Thursday in the Sugar Bowl. Great stuff there from Quintavious Johnson. Going to roll through here to see who we might be able to talk to. I got Georgia offensive line coach Stacy Searles over here. If we can talk to Coach. Yeah, let's do that.
Malachi Toliver?
Yeah. Malachi, how you doing? Great to see you. I'm Brandon Adams from DawgNation. You're live here right now. And listen, you have been a guy that has been talked about so much over the course of the last couple of weeks, obviously stepping in after Drew Bobo's injury. To my eyes, it seemed like the Sugar Bowl went really well. The SEC Championship went really well for you. But from your perspective, what was that like? Important position, stepping in injury. Obviously, you got to be ready at all times. What was that process like for you?
Yeah, it was I knew my teammates was there for me throughout the whole week before. I was just preparing and then getting with the guys. Even Drew Bobo helped me out. So I had confidence going into it. I knew my coaches was going to be there for me if anything happened, and my teammates was going to be there for me. It was a great time, and we won. That's all that mattered. So
listen, most of us have not been a center in the SEC, but athletically we've all done something, and we know what it feels like to have those butterflies in the stomach a little bit. You're touching the ball on every play. And if you mess up, listen, if a guy messes up somewhere else, maybe nobody notices. Certainly I might not notice. But you're the guy in the center of the field touching the ball on every play. What kind of butterflies do you have in your stomach going into a start like that?
Yeah, like I said, there was definitely some butterflies there, but once the ball snapped, I just knew it was just football. And like I said, I had confidence in my preparation, and my teammates was there for me, so I didn't let that overcome, and I just stayed focused on what we had to do.
And how about when you look at the rest of your offensive line? Obviously, this has been a group that has, I think to a lot of us, really gelled this year. The tremendous improvement of the Georgia running game, I think a lot of that gets traced back to the offensive line. As someone who's now on the field and playing, and prior to that, waiting for your opportunity, what have you seen as the way this offensive line's come together?
Yeah, I'm proud of our guys. I'm proud of the way that we made that an emphasis of this year of running the ball, and I feel like just the group as a whole came together a lot, and that's just a testament to how much we care about each other and the brotherhood that we have for each other, and it's nice going out there and being able to play with them and experience that.
Well, listen, Malachi, stepping in for an injured player like Drew, it had been having such a good season. No easy thing to do, but it looks like you're handling it really well. Best of luck in the Sugar Bowl on Thursday. Thanks for your time. Great stuff there. Malachi Toliver working right now as the Georgia center. Yeah, let's go see if we can talk to some running backs here. You got Jeff Sintel talking to Glenn Schumann here right now too. So a lot happening. Oh yeah, there you go. Let's see if we can get ready to talk to him here for a moment. Yeah, let's see. Let's see. We swing around right over here and get a chance to talk to Nate Frazier, who we had a fun conversation with a year ago. Nate, you got time for us on Dog Nation here for a moment? Good. Hey, good to see you. Good stuff with Georgia running back Nate Frazier. So a year ago, when we talked to you at Media Days, it was a fun thing for us because you showed a lot of respect for the RBU history. You talked about Sony Michel and Todd Gurley, and I think for a lot of our audience, we really love that. Now, you fast forward a year later, you're really a part of that, right? You've had a great season. The Georgia running game has greatly improved. How much fun has it been for you year over year to really find your home in this Georgia rushing attack and be a big part of the reason why this team is back in New Orleans right now?
I appreciate the respect, my guy. You saying that, I'm saying I'm a part of that, but them dogs are a different type of legends. I got a long way to go to get to that, but nah, man, it's definitely been one of the greatest experiences of my life. You know, I'm blessed and very humble and thankful to be a part of something like this at this prestigious university. So, you know, going day by day and month by month, you know, just trying to get better, just try to figure out what I can do to be on that type of level of those guys.
So you used the phrase get better. We've talked about this a lot the last couple of days about how much that's been a theme for Georgia, even going back before the season began. I know you know this. Kirby Smart, Mike Bobo, when they'd speak to the media, it's all about, hey, we want to run the ball better. We want to run the ball better. Well, you have. I mean, the statistics tell the tale. Dramatic improvement from year over year. A simple question, if you don't mind, how do you think that has happened to such a great effect?
Because we go in day in and day out always knowing there's room for improvement. If we rush for 200 yards one game, okay, let's go rush for 300 yards one game. We rush for 300 yards one game, okay, let's rush for 400 yards. If we find out this run was 6 yards, okay, how we get this run to be an explosive 50-yard run? Like, we try to find every single small detail. We try to be intentional with every single thing that we do to figure out ways that we can be better in the run game, and we take it very seriously. We don't mediocre with anything. We don't be lackadaisical with anything we do because that's not the Georgia way, and Georgia's never been that way. So we try to figure out things that we can do to improve ourselves in every single way possible, week by week, to get better and improve.
And then when the running game is operating the way that it is, it's just football 101. All of a sudden, the passing game, it's so much I mean, the offense this year, I think to a lot of people, and the numbers for the most part prove this, more explosive than it was a year ago. You know, more points in bigger spots, and just having the dependability of that running game has seemed to lift the entire offense, has it not?
Yes, sir, it has. You know, Coach Smart said something like this: if you can run the ball and you can stop the run, you most highly have a chance of winning the game. And, you know, when you have an offense that can run the ball, it opens up the pass as well, and you can throw in a lot of play action stuff in there. So having a team that can run the ball, it gives you a better chance to win games.
I'll finish with this. I think you earned a lot of respect from a lot of people with the way that you handle, obviously, the situation early this year. You have the fumble against Alabama, and nobody wants that. Obviously, you don't want that either. But I tell you, I have heard from so many Georgia fans who've said, man, the way that Nate came back from that, the way that he shook it off, and you know, your confidence grew, you became a very dependable part of this offense. What was it like for you to say, this moment's not going to define me, and over the course of the next however many games it's been, 10 games, whatever else, 8, 9 games, defining yourself under your own terms? What's that been like for you?
It's been great, and I'm so grateful for that moment of that happening to me, because you have two options you can go into that. And this is something that like to happen to you. You can sit and cry about it, or you can sit and see what you can do to improve from it. So my mindset was, if I'm going to be playing this game, it's not about me. It's about my team. What can I do to help my team out? That's not the last game we're going to be playing this year. We still have an opportunity and a chance to go to the playoffs, to play in the SEC championship. We still have a chance. I'm not going to sit here and cry about something that I can't control, because there's nothing I can do to change it. So I talked to myself and said, I'm going to sit here and think about what can I do to prevent this from ever happening again. So that's what I did. And I'm still working and still trying to see what I can do to get better at it, because there's always room for improvement.
That's an awesome perspective. Nate, we're fans of your game. Looking forward to seeing you on Thursday. Thanks for your time. Great stuff. Georgia running back Nate Frazier here on DawgNation Daily. And by the way, as we're transitioning, I'll also remind you, Around the Doghouse every Tuesday here is presented as well by our friends at Mercier Orchards Hard Cider. You can spell it Mercier. You want a great thing for your tailgate, a great thing for your watch party, the delicious taste of Mercier Orchards Hard Cider, whether it's the sweet, the tart, anything in between, you can get all of that with our friends at Mercier Orchards Hard Cider. We love having them here on Around the Doghouse. You're seeing a look at Kirby Smart there at the podium. He'll be there for a long – Colbie in the red. Let's see if we get a chance to do this over here. By the way, great job by our Cody Chavins helping us out here. Colbie, you got time for us here on DawgNation just for a moment? Got Georgia wide receiver Colbie Young. Obviously, I know you're still ongoing with your health process right now, but a lot of Georgia fans got some good news yesterday when you were listed as probable on that availability report. First of all, how has this recovery gone? Because I'm no doctor, but I think a lot of us assumed when the injury took place that you were done at Georgia, and now it seems like you got a really good chance of playing. How have you been able to recover so quickly?
Just trusting the training staff, trusting the process every day. You know, we've been having a great plan, and we excelled a little bit. We've been trying things, and my ankle's been feeling great, so we've been just going along that way.
For a competitor such as yourself, it must be hard not playing, right? Especially when you're having success before your injury. You're obviously an important part of this offense. I'm sure you had big ambitions for what this year was going to be. It must be really hard to have that put on hold and have to stand there and watch from the sidelines. Of course, you're a great supporter while you're doing so, but it must have been hard to have that happen.
Yeah, it was very hard. Like you said, I was on the sidelines the whole time, trusting the process. My guys did amazing. They're giving me an amazing opportunity for a chance to come back and play. So just a shout out to those guys, you know.
I remember when the injury first took place, Kirby Smart, when he talked about you, obviously he's going to be asked that question. And he really went into great detail about the kind of leader that you've been for Georgia. And listen, that was a level of, specific praise that Kirby doesn't always give. From your perspective, what do you think you've brought to Georgia from that? Obviously, you're a veteran guy. You've been around college football for a while. It seems like the other players of your position have really taken to you. You've had a lot to offer. But what do you think that you have been able to be for this team from a leadership standpoint?
Just an energy guy, bringing motivation to the guys. They're all great players and just trying to make sure they get the best out of themselves.
Great stuff there from Colbie Young. And I guess we'll finish with this if you don't mind. When you see the offense perform as well as it has this year, I think a better unit than it was a season ago. The word that gets used a lot has been improvement. What has it been like to watch this evolution take place and this improvement be what it is, where coming in to this Sugar Bowl, this is an offense that's playing at a pretty high level right now?
Yeah, super excited. When you get that off season where everyone's working, everyone's getting better, and you can see the progression in the guys and trusting each other, trusting one another. It just shows the nights that we were coming back into on routes on air, the little detailed things that we really wanted to kink out is coming to pay off.
Well, listen, congratulations on getting back to full health. A lot of Georgia fans are very excited to see you for what they hope is 3 more games. But nonetheless, just glad to have you back on the football field. Good stuff, Colbie.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Great stuff there. Georgia wide receiver Colbie Young. We'll get a chance to hear from Kirby Smart, I think, in a moment. We got some stuff from him from the podium. I wouldn't mind also hearing from a Georgia assistant coach if we can. We're walking through here. We told you it's kind of a crazy day today as we move through and get this. We'll make our way on the other side of the podium here for a moment, too. See if we can talk to there. You got Georgia tight ends coach Todd Harley over here. Yes. So Cody, if you want to lead us in a direction here, we'll try to make something happen. Obviously, we'll keep that conversation going. Do we want to catch up with Jordan Hall for a second? I know he's not injured, but he's obviously. Jordan, you got a couple seconds for us here on DawgNation? First of all, obviously disappointed when you had the injury that you dealt with, but your presence around this team has continued to be so valuable. So on behalf of everybody with DawgNation, by the way, you're live with DawgNation, on behalf of everybody at DawgNation, sorry that you're not able to play in this game, but you're also a guy that's been around Georgia. You know what the standard is here. How proud are you of the guys that are on the field for the standard they've been able to really uphold in what has been a remarkable run through this season so far?
Very proud. I say from a team standpoint, we had a little hiccup earlier in the season, and I feel like that caused us to propel a little bit faster towards mid-season, pick up a little bit of pace. Really after this game, we played against Ole Miss earlier in the year. We kind of found our stride on defense, and I speak from my room. I feel like we progressed a lot. Going into the season, it's a lot of people in the media said we had nobody on the D-line. I had a lot of guys leave, like Kel, J-Walk. Really, our whole front seven that had a lot of playing time. The only guy that stayed here was Christen Miller. So, to having that chip on our shoulder, even guys like me, just have an opportunity to play. And really just learn, learn the game, learn how to play with each other, the nuances of our defense, which is kind of difficult to be under. So, just having fun and just learning how all these guys is working, mesh together. So seeing that growth throughout the season, I can't be more proud.
Why do you think the tremendous growth did occur? Because obviously before the season, we talked to some of the other guys about this too, stopping the run. Well, you look at the numbers, this group has completely locked that area of the defense down. How do you think it is that that's come to happen to the degree that it has?
Just a level of intent we put into it. Going into the season, like you said, we always talked about stopping the run. So just putting the emphasis on that each and every single day. Kirby just went back to his old ways, just hard-nosed football, harder practices. And really, it's a mentality from the leadership group. I feel like we did a great job of really pushing that point with offensive line, running the ball and stopping the run. So practices were way more competitive than normal. just having fun, really just having fun out there.
I'll finish with this, and I know it's not the role you want to be in, but I can't help but remember back to 2022 when Nolan Smith was injured and not able to play, and yet he remained this huge vocal leader. I believe he even came out as a captain for the national championship game. I think you're a guy that could probably fill a similar role for this team right now too. I know you want to be on the field, and obviously Georgia fans wish you were there too, but your presence is still incredibly valuable, and I hope you feel that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, so best of luck this week. Good to talk to you again, and we're fans of your game, Jordan. Great stuff. Good there from Jordan Hall, Georgia defensive lineman. And you got Mike Bobo right over. I wonder if we slide over and talk to Coach Bobo for a second. We got, Connor and Jeff around there right now. Also, we can make our way to the other side of the podium here for a moment. Do we want to slide in here on this? Yeah. Can we slide in with you? Is it okay? Sure. Get Jeff Sintel with Georgia offensive coordinator Mike Bobo here.
What do you look for in a next Georgia quarterback? What are the qualities that catch your eye on film for your room?
Well, when you're looking at film, you're looking at talent. You're looking at, how does the ball come off his hand? How does he move in the pocket? Doesn't necessarily have to be like we were talking about earlier, like Gunner, but does he have the ability to pocket presence? What's his athletic skill set? That's what you look at first on film. All right, but to me, in a quarterback, all right, they got to have all that physical traits. But I want a guy that when he steps in the huddle, those 10 guys in the huddle, and the other guys on the sideline know this is the guy. That's who I want at quarterback.
It seems like there's a level of trust that, to your point that you're just making, that this team has sort of always had with Gunner. And when you're on the outside looking in, it's sometimes hard to know what seems true and what actually is true. But big spark last year when he came in for the SEC championship in this room a year ago, all the guys talking about him. There is just something when a quarterback has that it factor, the other players in the huddle or the locker room, they seem to know, right?
Yeah, and I think that's a credit to Gunner, because Gunner is not about Gunner Stockton. He's about the University of Georgia, and he puts the University of Georgia and his teammates first. He doesn't say a lot. He works extremely hard, and I think the guys on the team appreciate that who he is. He's never been about himself. If somebody wasn't playing well or not doing well, or a teammate's not doing well, Gunner's not the guy that's going to, criticize or talk about. I think my son said over Christmas, we were at dinner, and I think he said, Gunner Stockton has never said one bad thing about anybody on our team. That's just who he is. He's, a great young man, all right, and I think his teammates know that about him.
We also saw an interesting side of Gunner this week, too, when he was talking about being back at the Sugar Bowl and having a bad taste in his mouth, obviously about not getting that win as any player would. But I think for a lot of people, they're able to see the competitive side of Gunner, too, because as a quarterback, he's always saying the right thing and always, kind of the face of the program. But inside of that, sometimes mild-mannered demeanor, there's a pretty insatiable competitor in there too, right?
No, there's no question that this guy is extremely, extremely competitive. He does not like to be successful, whether it's we have to punt on a drive or if we didn't win the game like last year in the Sugar Bowl. Even in practice, this guy is very intense in how he goes about things and puts a lot of work in and prepares himself, and he's usually had success his whole career. So when he doesn't have success, he's not happy. And most guys that are at this level have that trait.
I'll finish with this and let somebody else ask questions, but if you look at the difference 2024 to 2025, statistically the thing that jumps out is how much more successful you've been running the football. And obviously I know before the year began, you talked about that in your press conference. Kirby talked about it, repeatedly. I think for a lot of us, though, it's hard to understand how that happened as much. Like what was the force behind that improvement? As someone who was essentially the architect of it, how do you think it occurred?
Well, I think we were a little more stubborn to run the ball this year, and I think if you're stubborn, you're going to have success at running the +1 element of Gunner. It's not a lot of yards every day, but it's 30 to 50 yards every game, being able to run the football, and that's how we, designed this football team to be this year. That was going to be our identity. Our identity the last couple of years was really around drop back quarterback, because that was Carson's strengths, being able to drop back and spread the ball around, puts the ball downfield. The strengths for us is, being able to run the ball and get Gunner on bootlegs and, the +1 running game and then take shots. So you build your team around the identity of who they are. Now, we're always going to want to run the ball because that's what Coach Smart wants, and I believe the same way. That's how you're going to have a chance to be in and compete for a championship every year. But then You want to run the ball, but then you have to build it around what does your quarterback do best. And, I think the mixture of us trying to reset the tone of being able to run the ball and then having a quarterback that could help us in the +1 has helped in the running game.
Best of luck on Thursday.
Thank you.
Great stuff there, Georgia offensive coordinator Mike Bobo. Do we want to go to the other side over here? We'll do that. I tell you what, why don't we hear like a minute or two of Kirby Smart while we walk, and then we can see if we can get set up over there. Are we able to do that? I told you, we're on the fly here right now. I think we can hear a little bit of Kirby Smart. We're going to walk to the other side of the podium. We'll hear from some more Georgia players on the other side of the room. Kirby Smart right now, and then we're back like 60 seconds from right now.
I would open with thanking
Okay, so we're having a little bit of an issue with Kirby Smart. We're back here live, so we'll just do a little walk and talk. So Smart is still on the podium over there.
I would open with
we're going to go over here where some Georgia players are set up with their own podiums. So we're here now, so we can hold that Kirby Smart for a little bit later on. In fact, let's go over here and see if we can walk and talk to a Monroe Freeling here right now. What a year Monroe has had. We'll see if we can get close enough to speak to him. Cody, help me make sure I got the right audio. You got time for us here live on DawgNation for a moment? Georgia offensive tackle Monroe Freeling. Monroe, first of all, congratulations on a great season to this point for your offensive line. How much fun has it been playing with these guys this year?
It's been a lot of fun. Going out there every single game and playing with those guys is awesome, especially you get like a good combo block or something. Turn around, see them sprinting down the field, hyped up. It's been awesome.
I got the impression before the year began for you, for the other guys, that there was a lot of desire to say, hey, whatever happened in 2024, we think there's a standard for us that's better and higher this year. We heard Jordan Hall a moment ago talk about a chip on the shoulder of the Georgia defensive line. I think football players probably play with chips on their shoulder a lot, but I think chip on the shoulder is probably a pretty good way to describe the way that your offensive line approached this season too, right?
Yeah, it wasn't our identity last year. As many good players as we had, it wasn't in the stats. It didn't lie. We ran for 129 yards rushing on the year, 15th in the SEC, and we took that personally. And came into this year, and number one goal is to run the rock. And so far, I think we've done that. And I think it fires up our entire team and makes our defense better too whenever they have to go against us in practice.
And obviously, I know offensive line's a team position group, it's about chemistry, but individually you've also got a lot of attention too, and I think a lot of folks have said individually you've really raised your level. Personally, what's that progress been like for you year over year, where you may have been a year ago, where you are now? What's your own journey been like with all of that?
I mean, it's credits to my team. I don't get the attention I get if my team's not doing good. So, I just do my job every week to week and do everything I can. And, best part about offensive line is that, you might not get the credit all the time, but, the team wins, and so that's all that matters.
Big stories, obviously Malachi Toliver stepping in for Drew Bobo. To my eyes, the SEC championship seemed to go really well. It's one of those things where we weren't thinking much about him. That meant he must have been doing his job. It's not an easy thing to do to step into the center position like that, especially for a guy like Drew who'd been playing so well. What have you thought about how Malachi has stepped in, and now obviously big shoes to fill once again in the Sugar Bowl too?
Sorry. Yeah, I think he's done a lot. He's gotten a lot better, especially just getting comfortable with him in that role. He's basically got the same position that Gunner had, essentially. And so he's stepping in this role, starting against Ole Miss this week. And I just think he's gotten a lot more comfortable just working with the ones and, making all his calls and just, really embracing the center role and the starter role.
Well, I'll finish with this. I know you're not going to make any announcements right now, but you do have a big decision coming at some point in time about what's going to happen for you, NFL draft, returning to Georgia. Let me try to ask it this way. What's the process of that decision going to be like for you?
I mean, I was first and foremost, I just want to win a national championship. And so I think everything's going to take care of itself if I do my job.
Listen, a lot of Georgia fans would love to see that come true, too. Maybe 3 more games this year. That sounds pretty good. Monroe, great stuff. Thanks for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good stuff there. Monroe Freeling live here on DawgNation. Got C.J. Allen right over here. Is there a place we can jump in easy and get something going here right now? Let's see. Live here on DawgNation. Got Daylen Everette right over there. Why don't we can almost get Gunner Stockton here right now, too. Let's see if we can slip over here. And I'm just going to get the mic close to Gunner, and then we'll ask questions when we get a chance to do that. Gunner Stockton here right now. Let's see if we can slide this in, get a mic close to him.
What happened in that first matchup? What's the biggest thing that you take away from going against them?
Yeah, I thought looking back, we executed pretty well, and I think that translates to this game and what we're trying to do. And I wish you could transfer that, but you can't. You can't transfer anything. So it's a whole different game and a whole different mindset, and we got to attack it like that.
When you talk to a lot of the guys on the Ole Miss side, one of the first things they say is like, y'all didn't punt in that game, right? Like that y'all were having that much success. Do you feel like some of those, like, I don't know if you can expect to not punt every time you face a team, but like, what do you feel like can carry over the most from that maybe allows you to have success?
Yeah, I felt like we had a pretty good week of prep going into it, and I felt like we've had this week. So I feel like we need to just keep doing that and just handle what we can control, which is preparing the right way, taking care of your bodies, and just setting ourselves up for success.
Ole Miss is led by a different guy now in Pete Bolden, but he's been the defensive coordinator this entire season. When going against that defense and even looking at film now, what has made them a unique challenge as far as schematically?
Yeah, I think first thing is just they have great players. They're big up front, and they got good linebackers, good secondary. So I think just that itself, they're really great. And they're a great SEC opponent. And I think just the speed they have and just how well coached they are.
So obviously lots changed for you year over year. Got a lot more experience. What does it feel like to be in the same spot you were last season, but a very different quarterback after a full season's worth of starting?
Yeah, I think just the confidence of playing a whole season with everybody in here and just having the ability to look back at some banked reps of games, plays and everything looking back.
You used the word confidence. Last year, one of the things I think was remarkable to a lot of us was how much confidence your teammates showed in you when you came in the SEC championship. Well, it seems like you've lived into that confidence pretty well, earned that trust from them. Does it feel good knowing they believed in you and you have obviously done what they thought you could do?
Yeah, it's always pretty cool when everybody believes in you, and I wouldn't want it any other way, and it's pretty cool.
You told an interesting story after the SEC championship about with Malachi Toliver stepping in as your center, that you had your suit coat on and y'all were taking some center quarterback exchange before the game began, which obviously gives you an idea of just how significant it was. The trust you have with Drew Bobo, Toliver steps in. But, boy, it seemed like it went really well, at least the best we could tell in the SEC championship. What's that transition been like?
Yeah, he's awesome. Of course, we don't want to see Drew the way he is right now hurt. But, Malachi, he's done a great job, and he's fun to play with, and he goes out there and plays his best.
And you also had an interesting thing to say this week about, hey, bad taste, lost the Sugar Bowl a year ago, you don't like to lose. I think a lot of people thought that was an interesting thing to hear from you. Would you mind talking a little bit more about just the competitive fire you feel about having this year's Sugar Bowl game go maybe different than last year's did, at least in terms of the final score?
Yeah, we definitely didn't play our best last year, and just being – I don't think anybody wants to lose in anything, but just being able to take this as a separate game and attack it in the right way.
Finish with this. We had a chance to talk to Colbie Young a little bit before. I told him, I said, when he got hurt, I thought he was probably done for the rest of the season, and now it seems like, at least based on the availability report, he may have a chance to play. It's Thursday, some point in the college football playoff. How big would it be to get him back for this offense, given the red zone weapon, obviously catching touchdown passes, big moments? It seems like he comes up big. How big would it be if you all could get him back?
Yeah, if we could, just being able to have Colbie as not only is he a great player, but just being able to have – he's always been around since he's been injured, and just having him as a person around has been huge for the team.
Well, Gunner, best of luck on Thursday. Thanks for being with us here on DawgNation. Good stuff there. Georgia quarterback Gunner Stockton. You got KJ Bolden right over here. Daylen Everette there, too. Daylen may interview KJ. Let's see if we can get over here and see this. I got the video going here right now. Daylen, you got some questions for KJ? You want to be a media man? You want to interview him here for a moment?
How does it feel playing with Daylen Everette?
Man, it feels great playing with Daylen Everette, man. I just feel like he's such a great leader. everybody on the team loves Daylen, man. He keeps everybody just so well energized, and he's a great guy, man. And just he's such a senior. This is his last ride, and you just always want to go out with a bang for your senior. So I'm gonna make sure we all just go out and go out for Daylen right there.
You got anything else for it?
Yeah. How does it feel to be the best safety in the country?
No comment.
Listen, he's been around this program long enough to know that's the kind of question that maybe gets you in trouble a little bit. But I'll ask you both here real quick. Obviously, y'all are having a good time right now. Does it feel good to be SEC champions again, back in a spot like this? Maybe a bunch of media people asked you questions. You're ready for this to be over with. But still, this is a place a lot of college football teams wish they could be. Y'all are here again. Does it feel good to be back in this spot with a chance to advance in this college football playoff?
Yeah, it definitely feels good to be back because, like you said, we got another chance to win the national championship. So we try to make sure we take it game by game.
And then, KJ, I'll ask you, y'all are joking there, but the camaraderie, the brotherhood, whatever you want to call it, that this secondary has with each other, how much fun has it been establishing that now as you're getting ready to culminate your second year with the program?
It's definitely very fun playing with the secondary. I feel like we're so tight together, and everybody bonding so tight. It just makes us play better. I feel like we also we so confident in our skills and just the way coaches prepare us. So we definitely we just been going on the rise and keep getting better and better as a secondary, and it's starting to show. And I can't wait to see us go out there and execute this week for it.
I think the assumption is because, Kirby Smart's former safety, that this coaching staff is going to expect a lot from these defensive backs, right? Especially yourself, because you obviously come in with a lot of fanfare, that there's a standard you're going to hold the safeties to, the defense secondary to. At this position group, if you're messing up, Kirby's going to notice, right?
Oh, yeah, he's definitely going to notice because he coaches us every day. So he's definitely going to be on your tail. But that's the great thing about it. Your head coach is coaching your position group, and he's making sure that you're doing the right things and just make sure you stay locked in. So, how could you lose with that right there?
And obviously, you've seen, Kyron's battled injury and saw Rashawn Dinkins step up in the star position in the SEC championship. You've been the constant somewhat, but there's been some rotation because of injury other places. But it seems like in the case of Rashawn in the SEC championship or, what has gone on with the other guys there, that you guys have held up okay throughout all of that. What have you thought of the way in which you guys have battled injury and still maintained a really high level?
Oh, yeah, at Georgia, we do a great job of developing people. We do a great job of developing people and make sure that everybody's ready. So even when your number's not called earlier in the season, you got to still be ready because you never know when your number's going to be called. So I feel like Coach Smart do a great job of developing you and make sure everybody knows what's going on and make sure everybody's confident in their ability. So, when you got to get your snap like Rashawn had to in the SEC championship, you be ready.
Cody James got a question for you.
All right, so we saw you on the field with Buford. Now that he's officially signed and enrolled, tell us what we're getting in Ty Boogie.
A dog, I ain't gonna lie. He's quiet. He don't say much. He's not a man of many words, but Ty a dog. He loves football. He willing to work and go beyond about football. So, you just love a player who loves to compete, and I love Ty for sure about it.
I'll tell you this, people saw him the state championship, what he did there with the running back stuff, but I broadcast high school games. We had him in September. He had 3 touchdowns 3 different ways. He had a pick six, he had a rushing touchdown, and he had a special teams touchdown too.
He couldn't wait to call me about that game. He couldn't wait to tell me about that game. I remember he called me after that game. He was just showing me all the clips and things like that. He couldn't wait for that. But now he's just such a great athlete. He could do anything. He can play offense, defense. You can put him anywhere, kick return, punt return. So, you just love a guy like that who just can play football and just play anywhere.
We'll let you go after this, but is it funny for you because it wasn't that long ago that you were the 5-star that's showing your highlights off, and now you're kind of the old guy in the room with the young guy saying, hey, look what I did. Is it kind of funny to watch the way yourself have transitioned to now being a veteran presence on this team?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely funny for sure. I be trying to tell the young guys, I be trying to show them my little clips like, y'all wasn't messing with me back then, but I be playing with them now. It's definitely funny, though.
KJ, good luck on Thursday. Good stuff there. KJ Bolden there. Very impressive. We're going to be done here in a minute, so I don't know if we're going to be able to get anything in or not. Go Dogs. Kate. Okay, so Zachariah Branch still over here. Yeah, let's see what we got here. Can we pop in? Yeah, I know we're getting ready to wrap this up, but just a quick word, Raylen Wilson, first of all. How does it feel to be back in this SEC championship once again before you get pulled off? Congratulations on the SEC championship, and how much fun is it to be back in the Sugar Bowl?
I mean, it's definitely fun. I feel like God brought us here again for a reason, and we just got to get it done this time.
Well, listen, DawgNation's rooting for you on Thursday. Best of luck. Thanks for being here.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all.
Good stuff there. Raylen Wilson, he's had a great year for UGA, and we told you, It was going to be a wild scene, and it was. They're wrapping this portion of this up. The Georgia players going to be making their way out here. We also had a chance for Kirby Smart a little earlier. We tried to play this. We had a little bit of an issue. Why don't we play a little bit of that right now, and then we'll come back and talk about some of what we heard here. And hopefully this was as fun for you as it was for us. We're just meandering through the room, trying to talk to who we could. I think we got some really good stuff. And while we were doing this, Kirby Smart was also speaking as well. So why don't we get a chance to hear a little bit from Kirby? This was at the podium, This was at the podium concurrent to the other interviews we were doing. Kirby Smart was also talking the entire time. We had camera on that. Why don't you see a couple of minutes of that here live from Sugar Bowl Media Day on DawgNation Daily presented by ServPro. Kirby Smart from earlier.
Hey, Coach. Richie Mills, WGNO in New Orleans. When your team walked off the plane yesterday, they described it as a business trip. How much did the result of last year's contest factor into that mindset?
Well, it was a business trip last year. It's always a business trip for us. You know, there's a bowl game, there's a reward at the end of the season, and then there's a college football playoff game. And when you're part of a CFP in a college football playoff game, it's meant to be a business trip. It's win or go home. And I think that requires a certain kind of demeanor when you play in a game like that, and that doesn't change from year to year.
I'll go to the left side, front row.
Hey, Coach. Trey Wallace with Outkick and Fox. 1 year ago when you guys were down here, the incident surrounding New Year's Eve and being back and also the loss of your father during that week, when you look back on that, and is it surreal to be back in the city 1 year later?
Yeah, it's a different feeling. I think my attention and focus is always forward on what we have to do here. I think landing yesterday, brought back some memories because the last time I was here, I was just leaving 2 or 3 days after the game with my family, and it was different. It was a different mood, different time, very different frame of mind, and you can't help but think a little bit about last time I was here. What I was going through. I was going to a funeral home and going to meet with people that I'd never met with, and it was a very unique experience. But that's not what this trip's about, and our guys know that, and we owe it to all those guys over there in sweatsuits to be focused on the task at hand. And it was a terrible time in this city, and unfortunately, people lost their lives during that event, and it was a horrific deal. It changed everything in this city. And really the celebration of New Year's. But our guys are excited to be back, and they're excited to have an opportunity to play in one of the best events, an all-SEC matchup in the Sugar Bowl. I don't think many people could have thought of that 5 to 10 years ago.
We'll stay on the left side along the aisle.
Hey, Coach. Aaron Mukes, WALB in Albany. I know you guys were talking about you want to move forward. Have you had an opportunity, or have you had that conversation with your players to discuss how maybe some of the returners are feeling about last year and them trying to move forward as well?
Yeah, we don't really talk much about last year. I mean, we didn't talk about last year's games that we played other teams on the schedule. It's never really about last year for us. It's way more about living in the moment. How do we prepare for the moment? There's nothing about last year's game that's going to help us in this game. There's nothing about our last game against Ole Miss that's going to help us in this game. It's really about what can we do for the next 48 hours to prepare better to be ready to play a big game.
All right, good stuff there from Georgia coach Kirby Smart. I believe we'll have the entirety of that press conference up on the DawgNation YouTube page at some point in time. It's like 45 minutes long. I can only imagine what kind of mood Kirby was in at the end of a 45-minute press conference, given the fact that he's not exactly the cheeriest, but a 10-minute press conference. I can only imagine what he's like after 45 minutes, but if you want to see for yourself, my guess is we'll have that up on the DawgNation YouTube page here at some point. Also, we can have a shout-out to our friends at Circle K. After a whole hour's worth of walking around doing these interviews, I could use a refill and a chance to recharge and get refueled. And Circle K exists for you for that very reason, too, for your vehicle and for yourself personally. There's more than 400 locations around Georgia and the South, so download that Circle K app, find one that's close to you, and don't forget, you're looking to save money this time of our lives, it seems like we all are. How about those large sodas? They call them the Polar Pops. Those large sodas at Circle K starting at under $1 right now. So you can find that at Circle K. Also great deals on coffee and energy drinks and all kinds of fun stuff there. Refill your vehicle, get fueled up yourself. You'll be ready to go for whatever you got going on at Circle K. Make sure you check them out today. We love having them a part of DawgNation Daily and our DawgNation postseason coverage here too. So I am obviously here. Cody Chafin's hanging out too. Cody was a great resource as we were getting these interviews a moment ago. Cody, I think we did okay, right? I mean, there are a couple of guys that I just never saw. I never saw Joseph Jonah Ajonye. Didn't get a chance to speak to him. We were obviously busy too. Would have loved to spoke to a couple more of the assistant coaches. Didn't quite have time for that. But I thought we got some really good stuff today.
Yeah, I thought it was a good mix of getting guys like Nate Frazier, who are just incredible. I can't get enough of Nate Frazier.
I love Nate Frazier.
But then you also get the kind of the newsy stuff. Hey, Malachi, how'd you feel about that first game? How's that going to go in the second game? We talked to Colbie Young. Here, how's your leg fit? Like that kind of stuff to kind of have the mix of here's what's currently important versus also who builds this team. Guys like Jordan Hall and some of these other guys who have such an impact on the team. So a good mix of both.
I also think, too, and I hope this comes through on video, that when you have regular player availability during the season, you bring a couple of guys to the podium and they talk in Athens, and I get this. It's not a complaint. But it's very serious because obviously SEC football is a serious thing. And it's only a few minutes, and the guys are going to say whatever they think they're supposed to say. But in a room like this, in what is still a bold destination game, they are a little more relaxed. So we had a moment ago with Daylen, Everette, and KJ Bolden joking with each other, with KJ joking about Tyreek Green. You don't get that in Athens. You really only get that in a situation like this. And there's a lot of that happening in the room. I know Kaylee Manziel is going to do some fun stuff with our social channels, and I hope a lot of that comes through on that. Cody, you do get a little bit more of a relaxed version of Georgia that you really don't get any other time.
No, and it's nice to get some of these guys that we haven't heard from. Elyiss Williams, you can only imagine if he was stuck up on that podium behind you, he would be much more clammed up. And
that's right.
He wasn't super open today, but we at least got a little more. I thought Eljiah Griffin, another guy we haven't gotten to hear from since Jeff Sentell was interviewing him on Before the Hedges. And we knew then he was a good interview, but it was great to hear from him. He had great perspective about coming in and being his own man. That really stuck out to me.
I'll also say this. Everybody that knew Elijah in Savannah will tell you that he was just the best dude in the world, that he had a 100% favorability rating. Everybody liked Eljiah Griffin. And obviously, I mean, I had a chance to shake his hand. I'm telling you right now, you're talking about a man's handshake. Big, firm grip. I mean, very, very impressive guy today. And honestly, I'm not going to ask him about DJ Jacobs. That's not fair to him. But I did want to speak to Elijah today because I do think that's an interesting contrast of, okay, well, here's the 5-star that's going to get the national attention, that's going to get his chance to go wherever he wants to. And Elijah made the decision that Georgia fans obviously love when that guy chooses to stay and stay. And we heard Elijah today say, I'm really glad I made that decision. I'm very happy with my development. He's getting that. And I do think it stands in contrast, whether it's Justice Terry from a year ago, different position, but DJ Jacobs right now, LaDamian Guyton, who reclassified for the class of 2026, a guy that was a former high school teammate of Griffin's at one point, that these guys that have made the decision to go out of state, which is their choice, their prerogative, and honestly, if I was offered millions of dollars, I might do that too. But Eljiah Griffin made the decision to stay in-state, the 5-star that stayed home, and we do think year 2, year 3, Griffin's going to be a guy that's in that same category of what we talked about with him, those other defensive linemen who also became first-round picks. I thought Eljiah Griffin was really good here today. It was also interesting to me, Cody, just I think the magnitude of what it feels like talking to Gunner now as opposed to talking to Gunner a year ago, where now you know he can be the starting quarterback. And now you know he does have that chip on his shoulder of doing in this game what he did not do in his first start, which is win and then advance in the college football playoff. It's more of an aura than it is anything tangible, but Gunner just feels a little different talking to him today too, right?
It does, and it was funny. He kind of tried to walk back the comment about, how he wanted the revenge on the Sugar Bowl, at least, or how that stuck in his craw from last year. But Mike Bobo told us, that's in there.
Yeah.
And you could tell it is. He does his best to put on that best press conference face sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So it was interesting. But to hear Mike Bobo talk about that, I thought was great. And then just to hear, we got to hear Jeff's question. So hearing his thoughtful answer to Jeff's question gets me excited to read everything else is going to come out, because we had Connor rolling around, Kaylee rolling around too.
Yeah, so I'll give you a little inside baseball for a moment. What we do is more along the lines of, hey, we need about 2 or 3 minutes with each player, look good on video, sound good. What a reporter's going to do in a situation like that is they're going to get a little closer. It's going to be more like hushed tones. It's going to be the kind of thing where you can have a little bit more of an abstract conversation. And so that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to interrupt Jeff if he didn't want to be interrupted, because he's just conducting a different kind of interview. The writers, and we obviously see these guys on video too, but the writers are just doing different kinds of interviews than the ones that we're doing. And so the stuff that you read at DawgNation.com, and then Cody's bringing up a really good point here, the stuff that you read at DawgNation.com will have a different feel than what we're doing on video because it's just two different mediums. I think that everybody really understands that. And I'll also say this too, that a lot of stuff that Coach Bobo was talking about with Jeff when we first walked up was of a similar theme to what he talked about with his press conference on Sunday. And I opened yesterday's show by saying, I thought Schumann on Saturday and Bobo on Sunday were outstanding press conferences. And I don't mean that in the way in which internet people talk. Everything's hyped up. Oh, you got to check this out, check that out, cross-promotion, shameless plug. I don't mean that. I mean, we all know that there's a lot of press conferences, and they're not all equally valued, just being honest, equally valuable. They are not. But I thought both these were really good, and I thought that Bobo in his Sunday press conference got even more into what you're looking for with a quarterback. I thought that was really good. Why don't we do this? Let's transition into our R.S. Andrews cool down right now. By the way, I think we may hear from Dari Payro this week, making some more picks for some of the big games. We may do some of that at some point on one of our shows. We'll take a few comments. We're going to give Cody a break. He's had this camera on his shoulder all day long. But we'll see if we can get a few comments and see how people are doing here today, and see if you enjoyed the media day and if it translated on video the way that we had it here in the room. So I'll start on YouTube. Johnny Surf Dog says, great job, Dog Nation. So that's what you always want to see. Sounds like people had a good time with that. By the way, Jerry Dogfan also mentioning Cam Coleman in the transfer portal. Obviously, Coleman, the former Auburn wide receiver, there's going to be a ton of interest in what he does. A lot of Georgia fans seem to think they could be a factor in that. Clearly, Georgia's had success with transfer receivers. We talked to Colbie Young. We wanted to talk to Zachariah Branch, and we just never got around to him. But clearly, Georgia's had success with transfer wide receivers. I don't know that means they're going to be a huge factor in the Cam Coleman situation, but I thought that Coleman may be the best receiver in the SEC, even more so than maybe guys who've gotten more attention. So obviously, if this could be a situation for Georgia, I would very much be interested in it. We'll just have to see about that. Jerry Dogfan also says, BA, living the dream. How does it feel to know that Georgia's in the glory years? It feels great, and I really do. Look, there are a lot of things in life, I'll be honest with you, that I wish I was better at, or I wish I was, sometimes even I wish my perspective was different, right? None of us are perfect, and I am keenly aware of my own imperfections. I really am. I will tell you, though, one of the things I am really good about is I am very appreciative, and I am very grateful. And when I woke up this morning, knowing we're going to come here and do this, this is really fun for me. And I worked my hardest to make it be fun for you all to watch, and maybe that conveys, maybe it doesn't. I hope it does. But for me personally, my gratitude for the fact that Georgia's back in a big game. I could have been born in any era. I could have been born anywhere. But it happens to be that I am in my professional working years here in the great state of Georgia at a time in which Georgia's made trips to the college football playoff a pretty regular occurrence. Yeah, that does feel really good, and I don't take it for granted. And listen, with any job, there are going to be certain parts of it that eventually feel like a job. This job is no different. That's just the way things are. But when it comes to the big stuff, when it comes to, can you believe we get to walk in a room and just go from player to player and talk to them, and they're essentially, a captive audience, and so therefore they play along with our questions and they give us good stuff, and get a chance just to chat with Mike Bobo, and we could have talked to others too. It's just a matter of you can only talk to so many people in a 45-minute span, and Georgia ain't staying a second longer than 45 minutes. I can promise you that. But yeah, I mean, I think that Cody would say the same thing, because Cody, I think that you and I have a similar mindset on this. There's a lot of work and there's a lot of sleepless, nights sometimes, burning the candle at both ends. You feel like you are. But I woke up today just as energized as I have been at any point in time over the last 11 years that we've been doing this. It felt really, really good to be here. And looking ahead to Thursday, that feels really good too. Obviously, I hope it's a Georgia win. But it just feels really good to be in the mix, because there are 120 whatever teams that would kill to be where Georgia is right now. So, yeah, it feels really good to be with them on this particular journey.
Funny, it felt like you get to your, the family reunion and you're trying to fill up your plate. Like there was so much good stuff to be had today that you're just piling stuff and you just don't have room on your plate to get everybody we wanted to talk to. But it was a whole lot of fun. And, yeah, these days, like for us, it's about getting a game plan and how we're going to go about it. And, all that stuff it's constantly thinking about. But, yeah, when you tell people what you do for a living, they get very jealous. And, that makes you very much appreciate, considering, we had to get on a plane and lug all this gear. But, hey, this is awesome.
But I think you also bring up a good point, too. It's like we joke about how chaotic this particular day is. There is a way to do this wrong. And so, like, while I'm super grateful and super appreciative of what we get to do, I'm also a little nervous about, hey, you could get into a situation like this and move around the room for 45 minutes and not really get enough stuff. You're trying to wait to talk to this guy because you got to time it just perfectly. And that's one of the reasons why I'm glad I've got Cody here to help, because when you finish one conversation, you want to look and see another player who's like right there that you can go walk to and talk to. It's kind of like the worst behavior. If you ever go to like a cocktail party or like a neighborhood party, the most annoying person in the room is the person that's talking to you, but they're looking over your shoulder to see if there's somebody more interesting to talk to. You do have to do a version of that here where, hey, I'm having a great interview, but while you're talking, I'm also looking, is that Colbie Young? Oh, is that Eljiah Griffin? I'm also looking for the next place we're going to go. And so Cody was really good today. While I'm interviewing, he's like, hey, here's so-and-so. And so while really appreciative of the fact we get to do this, there is also a thing of let's please don't screw this up, because this is one of those things that if you weren't careful, you could do this wrong. Hopefully we did not today. Let's get a few more. At DawgNation.com, UJ Marine says we did a good job. Appreciate that. Senior Dog 54 says BA lives by the mantra that if you can do what you love, you'll never have to work a day in your life. I do feel that way. I really do. And, there are a lot of days in which, look, the people that work with me will tell you that in real life, I'm not always as happy and smiley as I am here on the show. There is a certain demeanor we project on air that I wish I could be that way 365 days a year, but almost anyone that has worked with me has probably seen a little bit different side of me. But nonetheless, we feel very good about what we are able to do. Thomas T-Bone 86 mentioned the Georgia basketball team won yesterday. They beat Long Island University. Is that LIU Brooklyn? Or maybe that's just Long Island. And the Falcons also won too. So, yeah, we were over at Caesars last night watching some of the Falcons game. Classic Falcons. They're up 21-0. Then it's, 24-24. They kick a long field goal, which turned out to be the game winner. So the Falcons, listen, nobody rises up, no pun intended, and plays big in the games that don't matter more so than the Atlanta Falcons. Last night, a perfect example of that. Let's see what else here at DawgNation.com.
Facebook, Miriam Corbin says great job.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Terry Rigdon, Jacob Alexander.
Yeah, appreciate that. Really appreciate that for sure. Low Country Dog says he has a good Eljiah Griffin story. Yeah, a lot of folks down there in that Low Country area over in Chatham County and whatnot, near the Georgia coast, they have had a lot of good things with our good guy Eljiah Griffin throughout the years. We're big fans of his and very impressed with him today. Randy Hall says my hair is looking good. Randy, I'll take that. There's no better compliment I could get than that. I'm just glad I've got a little bit of hair here right now, so glad to hear that it's looking pretty good today. Thank you very much for that, Randy. I appreciate that. Let's go back over to YouTube for a moment. We'll do just a couple more of these, and after that, I got to give Cody a break. And Cody, if you see some other stuff on Facebook you want to read, and can you confirm for me that Facebook as a platform just does not work like these other platforms do? You don't see as many comments on Facebook, right?
It's hard, yeah.
It doesn't work like it used to.
Kind of slow.
So a couple of more of these, we're going to give Cody a break. Raymond Poole Coaching says, great job, Dog Nation. Appreciate that. Tony Huff says the Falcons almost falconed. They really did. Dennis Wilson looking ahead to what he calls, what if it's Miami and Alabama and Hard Rock Stadium for the national championship? Yeah, there's a lot of what ifs, I guess, right? If wishes and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. Maybe that's the case.
Kent Holcomb says, enjoyed seeing the players' faces without a helmet on.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I like seeing their personality. I mean, a lot of these guys, look, when you're around the Georgia team, I mean, most of us haven't been on a team in kind of a long time. Now, sometimes your workplace tries to make itself be a team. Hey, we're all a team here. Sometimes it feels that way. Sometimes it doesn't, just being honest. But when you're around a team like Georgia, I think you're reminded of being on a team like this. And I know they work hard. The practices are miserable sometimes. But Cody, doesn't it just feel like the most fun thing in the world, the way in which they're joking with each other? I mean, for those of you that played in high school, whatever, the funniest stories you have, the biggest laughs you ever had, are the stuff that happened in a locker room or on the sidelines of a practice or whatever else. And that part of the Georgia team, I think, is really evident when you're in a room like this. Even for some of the Georgia coaches, there is just a bond that's formed, player to player, coach to player sometimes, coach to coach. They just make being on a team look like a very fun thing.
And it's always fun to see, like, which guys – like, we just assume that it's the guys in the position groups that are friends with each other. But when you watch some of the guys who are, one guy's on offense, one guy's on defense, but these guys are good friends and hanging out. It's kind of fun to see those guys interact with each other, give each other a hard time. Somebody's on camera, somebody's giving them bunny ears. All of that kind of stuff is really funny.
All right, a couple more. Dennis Wilson, by the way, says, BA, Happy New Year. Dennis, honestly, Happy New Year to you. I know they give you grief, Dennis, but I'm glad you're here. I really am.
Marshall Fleming at the beach in Cancun.
Boy, I tell you what, you can't beat that. Frank Patterson says the Facebook dogs are not ready for the playoff season. I don't know, Facebook. It sounds like YouTube doubts you, but I believe you might be ready. Cody, why don't you give us one more? We'll get ready to sign off, and you can take that shoulder harness off.
Let's see. From Moultrie, Georgia, home of the Colquitt Packers. Thank you, Jim Blair.
Yeah, Jim's always checking in.
They said Cody you paid me to give you a compliment, BA. But some folks say this felt like your Super Bowl. You did a great job. So
well, that's good. That's good to know.
Mostly positive reviews. The negative Nancy's will show up later on YouTube.
And by all means.
You can all dislike their comment.
Yeah, feel free to write that in the suggestion box. Hey, great stuff. Thank you for being here. It's going to be a really fun week for us. So it'll be a more traditional DawgNation Daily tomorrow. Now, I'll tell you some inside baseball. We have a gorgeous spot outdoors that really looks like New Orleans. It's a great backdrop. It's one of the things we like to do. Hey, can we make it look like New Orleans while we're in New Orleans? We've got permission to be out there. We've got all of the I's dotted and T's crossed to do a gorgeous rendition of the show tomorrow outside. Guess what? Much like it is in Georgia, it is freezing cold here right now. I'm talking about looking through the big glass windows of our hotel this morning. Obviously, I'm indoors. I'm wearing short sleeves. But like the palm trees were just rocking back and forth. It's very cold, very windy. I've been to New Orleans many times for the Sugar Bowl. This is the by far coldest weather we've experienced. So we'll have a somewhat regular edition of DawgNation Daily tomorrow. But I don't know if we're going to be able to be outside or not. I hope we are. But if it's as cold as it looks like it is, that's going to be a pretty tricky thing to do. Either way, though, thanks for being here. All of this leading into Thursday. And by the way, on game day on Thursday, we'll still do a live edition of DawgNation Daily leading you into that game day. So it's a ton of coverage from us. We're going to get a chance to see a little Georgia practice today. We'll not be streaming it, but we'll see a little bit of that. It's probably going to be Yoga-Palooza, but it's still pretty interesting to see. So we'll see if we can get some of that video up for you at a certain point as well. So busy week for us, a lot of stuff, individual interviews, some of the ones I conducted, some of the others will also be up here too. There's going to be more video than you can watch. So if you're ready for the Sugar Bowl, if you're off this week and you're just sitting around just waiting for the game to get here, we're going to have plenty of coverage to help buy the time to get there. So big thanks to all of you, and a huge thanks to our friends at R.S. Andrews who make it possible. Air conditioning, heating, plumbing, and electric. They show up on time, do the work that's promised, the price is promised. You can trust them on that. Hope you have a great day. We're back tomorrow for DawgNation Daily presented by ServPro in a little bit more of a traditional form, but live from New Orleans still. So we will look forward to talking to them. Thanks to everybody who made all of this possible today on DawgNation Daily presented by ServPro.